Jeffrey. How's everybody out there doing? Flip Awesome Aguilera, head instructor at the Self Defense Academy, Colorado Springs. And a common question we hear is, what is the distinction between self-defense and sport? So I'm going to go over that little topic here with you today, and hopefully you'll have a clearer idea of what you can expect and what are the differences between a self-defense school and a school that focuses on sport. Here we go. Hopefully you can see this well, but over here we have 3 self-defense situations, and on this side of the screen we've got sport situations. So there's 3 distinctions, 3 main distinctions that separate self-defense and sport. So the first distinction that we have is, what makes something a sport is that there are rules and guidelines, right? It wouldn't be a sport if there were not any rules and guidelines. So everybody over here on this side of the screen has rules and guidelines that they need to abide by. We're over here on the self-defense side of the screen, there are no rules and guidelines that need to be abided by there. So right off the bat, we just have a different fundamental context, right? So what is the second distinction? The people on this side of the screen, which are the sports people, they want to fight each other. You know, these guys, they get in the gym, they're training every day, they're disciplined, they're doing all those things so that on the day that they meet, it's like a physical chess match. It's like, you've been training hard, I've been training hard, let's see what happens when we both come together. So these people want to fight each other, right? They want to engage with each other. Where over here on the self-defense side, these people find themselves in situations that they don't want to be in, and what they want to do is learn how to de-escalate and get out of the situation, right? So again, we have a different context. And now the third difference between them is, because of the rules and guidelines, the people on the sports side of the screen over here, they are specialists, right? So over here, we have some strikers. We got some Muay Thai guys. They're really good at striking, but they don't really do a lot of throwing, and they don't do a lot of wrestling and grappling. Over here, we have some judo. They're really good at throwing, but they don't really do a lot of striking, and they don't do a lot of wrestling and grappling. They do a little bit, but not as much as wrestlers and BJJ guys. Down here, we have BJJ. They do a lot of wrestling and grappling. They don't do any striking, and they don't really do any throwing either. So you see, these guys are specialists within the set of rules and guidelines that they have to play in, right? Where over here, we have to be generalists, because you don't know which tool you're going to have to pull out of the toolbox, because if it's a surprise attack, you don't know if you're going to have to strike to get away, throw to get away, if it ends up on the ground, if you're going to have to wrestle and grapple. So those are the 3 main distinctions between self-defense and sports of combat sports, boxing, Muay Thai, judo, wrestling, BJJ, sambo, all these things. So wanted to make this to give you guys just a little insight on what are the distinctions. Now I'm going to share a little story about what made me even begin the Self Defense Academy of Colorado Springs. Why did I start the Self Defense Academy of Colorado Springs, and why are we only focused on self-defense, exclusively focused on self-defense? So in 2020, when I was living in Miami, I was part of the Valente Brothers School, and over there, it was my first intro to jiu-jitsu, so I didn't know any other way, right? So I did know that there was a sport and that there was self-defense, but I didn't really know that there was this big distinction until I stepped foot into the Valente Brothers and started training there. I immediately fell in love with it from day one. I thought to myself, how am I going to add jiu-jitsu to my life? Because there's no way I can't do this. And I knew that I was going to move to Colorado Springs July of 2020, and this was February of 2020. So in February of 2020, I had come to Colorado Springs, and I went to 8 different schools. And what I realized is that every school here teaches the sport of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and not very many of them really focus on just the self-defense part, which is what I was experiencing in Miami and what I wanted to continue to experience. So when I got back from that trip, and I told, the professors, the Valente Brothers, do you guys know anybody in Colorado Springs that may be teaching the same style that you did, or that you guys are teaching? They looked at me in the face and said, you know what? How about you start it? And I was like, start what? What am I going to start? I just started doing jiu-jitsu not too long ago myself. And they're like, just find one student, teach them this exclusive self-defense method, and see what happens. And little by little, I started getting more students until now I'm here in downtown Colorado Springs at the co-working space of the Next Us in the basement. So we are here right now. We would love for you to come join us, but let me keep going on this story just a little bit more. So once I got here in July of 2020, what was going on was the COVID. So I couldn't meet anybody, and I am in the fitness and wellness industry. And our industry, just like many other industries that many of you may be in, took a big hit. And I had to figure out what to do until I could start to teach and find clients. But eventually, thank goodness for all of us, the COVID made its way behind us, and I was able to start teaching more and more people until, again, I grew here into this space that I'm in now. So I hope that gave you a little insight on the distinction between self-defense and sport. And maybe just a little extra that I want to add here now that I'm thinking about it. A really big part of what we do here in the self-defense part is the philosophy as well, which is what we call the 753 code. And the way I like to point that out is, what's the point of learning how to physically defend yourself if you can't defend yourself mentally and emotionally as well? And that's where that 753 code comes in. Again, a very big featured part of our curriculum here at the Self Defense Academy. So if you'd like to experience learning how to defend yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally, come hang out with us here, the basement of the Next Us in downtown Colorado Springs, at the Self Defense Academy of Colorado Springs, where we believe that you are worth defending. Peace.